Welcome, everybody, to another dynamic episode of Real Talk with Rob Tavy, with my guest today, Chris Heilman, from President and COO of American Suzuki Corporation, or is known as ASC Capacitors. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. Doing very good.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us some more insights of really what's going on in the industry. The last 2 years has been really challenging for a lot of us. And I know, like, even present day, supply chain doesn't help all the stuff that's going on in the world. But there's a lot of positives in there. So I just want to kind of dive in a little bit more about ASC and really the foundation of ASC. You know, what do you do at ASC? What does it encompass, and how a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, so American Suzuki Corporation, or ASC, we manufacture film capacitors. We specialize in custom film capacitors. We've been doing this since the 30s, so we've been doing it a really long time. Specialize in all sorts of industries. Started out in a lot of military, back in the day. That's kind of how things were founded and started. And myself, again, president of the company, but I started out in engineering. I actually started my career here about 19 years ago. So started out in engineering and just kind of worked my way up through there.
Wow. Look at that. I mean, you sometimes don't hear a lot of those stories of started your career and now you worked your way up. Some people say, I started as an intern or as a janitor. Now I'm the president CEO of the company. Yeah. But, I guess there was a lot of adversities that you went through, a lot of training that had to go through for the last 19 years to get where you are. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. So really, what of your career aspect of coming into, as I said, you would have a background in engineering coming out of college. Really, what was your attraction to this industry, or was it just the first job that you found? What was it to the capacitance side?
Well, yeah, it was, unfortunately, I kind of fell into it. It was right after 9/11 in 2002. So jobs market was not the strongest at that time. I did have an offer to stay in Arizona and have a job down there. But I wanted to get closer to my roots, which were originally in Colorado. And so that's we're in Western Nebraska right now. So the opportunity to get back home and do something that I went to school for or closer to home and do something I went to school for was awesome. So that really, drove me into the capacitor industry. And, it's just, it's been history ever since. It's been a lot of fun.
I mean, capacitors, people really know about capacitors right now are in all high demand because of really what's happening in the world of power, especially everybody knows EV, electric vehicles, and everything that's like power related. So it actually is as much as it's an old technology, it's still evolving and still producing today. And capacitors are the critical components to a lot of things that we use every day today. From people realize from the fans and HVACs and UPS systems that are backup uninterrupted power supply systems, into for data centers. And there's a lot of places capacitors go into. I mean, I think you can elaborate a little bit more about really what the basis of capacitance is and why ASC has really been specialized into this industry.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, capacitor are used in basically every electronic device. And so they're very important in offsetting a lot of the inductances, a lot of loads and everything that your devices typically see. So they're very important to deal with all those critical components of the system. We deal a lot with filtering style. Well, basically all capacitors are filtering capacitors, but we're getting heavily involved in industrial style capacitors. So higher currents, higher voltages, things like that. We still play a lot in the military aerospace realm as well. But in heavy industry is really taking off, and a lot of those companies need that to be able to handle. The great thing about film capacitors is they'll be able to handle a lot of current, as opposed to maybe electrolytic or something like that. They're also a lot more robust when it comes to environmental conditions, so they can handle fast or drastic swings in temperatures and things like that. So a lot of the industries, heavy industries are looking at those because they want a very robust product, able to handle high current and be able to offer a significant life expectancy for those parts.
Yeah, so I mean, for anybody listening, I said ASC really focuses on the high power capacitance, not your cell phone capacitors or
Yeah.
everything that goes into a computer capacitance or surface mount capacitance or the smaller. But you guys are very, I think, have your niche is into the higher voltage, higher power, more durable custom solution components, correct?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Our forte is really engineering. We have a great engineering team. I'm a little biased, I guess, since I
Yeah.
started in engineering, but it's a great team. They're very dedicated and a lot of really good knowledge and experience there. And so yeah, that customization and really driving that to give the customers exactly what they need and what they want. And yeah, driving we don't do the very small chip style capacitors. We do the larger stuff, which is really more the film and foil type of design. It lends itself to a lot larger product.
So going into the film, are you saying I think it's we have polyester, polypropylene. What are those the two major films, or what other films do you guys use to produce?
Yeah, those are the two major ones, is polypropylene and polyester.
Okay.
We do use some polyphenylene sulfide for some of the military type applications. Those are basically a good crossover to a polycarbonate, which was obsoleted some time ago. We also have gotten into Teflon. We've done a lot of polystyrene way back in the day. So we've done a lot of different types of plastics.
So, I mean, as an engineer minded and a curiosity that I have, what are the advantages between polyester and polypropylene?
Well, as far as those two are concerned, why they're the main ones that are used is because they're readily available and the cost is relatively inexpensive. Polypropylene's the cheaper of the two, but it doesn't have quite the temperature range that a polyester would have. Polyester has a little bit higher temperature, but it has a little bit higher losses. So when you're using it in a application that has a lot of filtering, a lot of current running through it, you'll have potentially a little bit more self-heating, and sometimes that's negative, has a negative impact to the life of the parts and the application.
Okay. Yeah, because as I said, we have, I mean, myself has been involved in a lot of polyester, polypropylene capacs, especially smaller size, the XY caps and all the things are
Yeah.
polyester or polypropylene going into there. And the applications, the power, mostly smaller power supplies, because everybody doesn't realize there is most of the time, there's a polypropylene cap or a cap inside those power supplies to save
Absolutely.
circuits, to filter out the energy that's flowing through there.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah,
And underneath your refrigerator too. You probably
yeah.
have polypropylene or polyester cap underneath your refrigerator at home.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere there are these caps, and they could be different circumference from circular to square, and how they're made. So it is interesting to really get into the curiosity of how the design, size, and why you choose a certain form factor, a certain type of capacitance for a certain type of load. So what are the ranges, I would say, for the spectrum of capacitance that you guys specialize in from the power side, voltage, amperage? What is it that you go into?
Yeah, really. I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, we've built capacitors the size of pallets that you put on. I mean, we've had huge capacitors. I can't remember the specific capacitance of one of those, but one of the larger ones that we readily manufacture is around 1500 microfarad.
Microfarad.
Which, yeah, pretty decent size. It's about the size of a suitcase or a briefcase, I guess. Voltage range in that one is around 1,000 volts. But we do, again, smaller capacitors for power supplies like you were talking about. We've done capacitors as high as 30,000 volts before. Those are in the lower microfarad range, in the 0.048 to 1 microfarad range. So you kind of have a give and take. If you go really high in capacitance, you typically lose a little bit of voltage just due to the sheer size. And if you go really high in voltage, you're going to drop capacitance a little bit, again, just because of the physics and the sheer size.
Yeah, and with the technology advancing these days, of all the power generation, and a lot of people going green, they want to improve efficiencies through power. They want to use different solutions. What are the drivers right now you see for your business, and a lot of the sector of industries that are the most fruitful, or the most that are what ASC is focusing on or getting the most return on right now?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of that, efficiency standpoint comes to power factor correction, making sure that your system is running as efficiently as possible. And a lot of that, if you do the correct power factor correction, you're going to reduce a lot of the load and a lot of cost on your facility from electrical standpoint, from electrical perspective, from the company, the power company.
Yeah.
So, our capacitors are used, predominantly in that. It also saves equipment as well. It also saves wear and tear on motors and pumps and things like that. And, reliability is the other side of that. So if you have an oil derrick or an oil rig out in the middle of Texas or wherever, you definitely don't want to be sending too many people out there to repair things. So you want a reliable capacitor that will be able to filter the energy and allow you to run that product for a very long time efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things you could put into the frames of the power. There's power everywhere. We need power to survive, and people don't realize power is as much as everybody says, what do we need power for? But today there is more power companies or power related companies starting up than ever. A lot is driving through the electrification of a lot of things, but these all power projects or power types of industries need capacitance. Some way, right? And so coming into the solar or EV, there is a lot big use for inverters, right? And a converter or inverter business to go into. So is that a sector that you guys see that's increasing in demand for the last couple of years?
Yes, absolutely. Our parent company, Shizuki Electric, is heavily involved with EV capacitors. And yes, those are definitely going crazy right now with all the limitations on fossil fuels and gas and stuff like that. Everybody wants to go electric, so they're doing really good on that front. As far as alternative energy, filtering caps for wind energy and solar, yes, that's increasing pretty high right now as well, especially with some of the newer regulations on fossil fuels and things like that.
So for a business in that sector, how do you guys cater to the strategy that you do to make a solution? You guys make off the shelf solutions, or you also make most of the time you're customized to the customer's needs?
Yeah, a lot of times they're custom applications or they're customized to the customer needs, but we have such a wide array of product that oftentimes we can find something very similar for a customer who, for their needs to fit their specific application. But if, a customer says, hey, I only got room for this, or I only need exactly this, we're very happy to do that too and custom design something for them.
Yeah, that's overall, it's always been interesting. It's like, because there's always engineering, because there's engineering everywhere. Everybody's engineering to create a custom solution. They want to make a different product. They don't want to sometimes a drop in, or there's also, as you say, they want to be able to protect the device or save energy or whatever the application could be, because it could be from motor drives, right? From inverter or a home appliance or a UPS system, or because there's a lot of different applications to it. And also, even railways. How's the rail business going for you guys? Is increasing at all because demand or people want to produce more advanced the transports for railways?
Yeah. I think that's business. Again, Shizuki does a lot of the rail traction drives and everything. From my understanding, it's still pretty strong. I really haven't seen a whole lot as in the way of that. So.
No, yeah, that's what I want to see. So for you guys at ASC in America, what is really takes your top two industries that you guys, or top three industries that you guys are focusing on, or that is majority of the business coming in right now?
Yeah, so again, it's all kind of focused around industrial applications. Oil and gas is a big one. Yeah, we do a lot of power factor correction or capacitors for power factor correction equipment and harmonic filters for oil and gas industry. That was pretty big, pretty heavy.
Now, coming to really the last couple of years, if you go into the pandemic, a lot of stuff has changed. Let's go. I have this couple multifaceted question I have for you, because I want to ask all my guests that come on the show. Really, how was it when in 2020 COVID happened? How was your business? How was it affected? Did you guys have to have shutdowns? Was there cancellation of orders? What was that feeling for you guys in the beginning of the pandemic?
Yeah, so the feeling at the beginning of the pandemic was it was pretty scary. I mean, everything was really getting closed down, shut down. A lot of trips that we had to customers in different places were getting canceled and things like that. So at first, yeah, it got pretty scary, and then a lot of the orders, yes, did start to get canceled. A lot of them got started to get pushed out. So that was a real challenge there as far as trying to keep everything going, make sure that we had enough steam to roll ahead, but still keep up, but I guess get as many orders as we could and keep things rolling.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I think every factory, because of manufacturing, had their own challenges, especially because in like where you guys are located, it's not as populated as it would be in
No.
another region that's more of a downtown area. So I know that's well, there as it can, it's having some of the protocols in place. But how is it for business been? I mean, coming out, I mean, 2021, I think has transitioned to a much stronger year than people expected for a lot of companies. What
Mhm.
really did you see was driving that? Is it infrastructure? Is it companies just not reinvesting or updating their products? Really, what do you see the trend with the customers you're dealing with? That what a lot of new projects coming into play? What are they coming from? Is it existing or is it new?
But yeah, it's pretty much existing. I mean, we're just seeing the same products that we've been building for years are really just overnight. They skyrocketed,
Uh-huh.
and so yeah, we're seeing everything across the board from industrial applications to aircraft, aviation. It's just across the board. Everything seems like it has just jumped, and it took from compared to 2020 where we're just trying to keep ourselves going and everything to then just an immediate leap in 2021. It's been really challenging to keep up with that. It's just been crazy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to understand. It's very fascinating. Different companies I talk to in different industries into the component supply chain industry. It's like everybody's like it was unprecedented. All of a sudden, what happened? Like we
Yeah.
just orders start coming in, and sometimes then it's good to always get that data. And I always like to get that curiosity of that data that you guys collect. Like, okay, is it existing business? Is it new business? Why have they been increasing? Is it because, I mean, of course, we can get to, I mean, recently the U.S. passed, Congress passed, the Senate passed the new infrastructure bill.
Hmm.
$3
Yeah.
trillion going into that this is big for a lot of people in the supply chain world that because infrastructure means new roads, new processes, new everything. And a lot of these things need power because it's digitalization as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So for companies in this industry like ASC, this means that there'll be more contracts put out to contracts that come to you for solution basis. So are you guys really in tune with that? To saying, oh, okay, these customers, or are you segmenting your customers? These customers might be contracted or have bids on these type of projects coming in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We believe that it's heavily involved with infrastructure, welding applications, industrial chiller systems, harmonic filters, and everything else along the way have just exploded. So yes, we do agree that that's where a lot of this is coming from. A lot of people probably securing contracts and trying to get their products out for these new buildings, new facilities, new roads, new things that they need to do there.
Yeah, yeah, it's very promising to what the future is ahead for a lot of people in this. But now coming back to my other question for this other point is the supply chain, is the
Mhm.
materials to build, because we're all having the challenges to get the raw materials to build any products or even the components to build the gadgets or the end products for the application. So how is ASC, how did you guys go into that into the pandemic? And what do you see going? Has it gotten better, or materials are still for logistics, not just from logistics, but from just the material providers and costs? How is that all affected to?
Yeah, so yeah, going into the pandemic, I mean, we were 4 to 6 week lead time roughly on a lot of our material suppliers and things
Yeah.
like that. And costs were fairly stabilized. There's always a slight increase here and there for inflation, but then once we got into 2021 and all these orders started coming through, lead times have quadrupled. I mean, they have just went out substantially. And it's about every week we'll get letters of cost increases on those materials, and their raw materials, their cost of labor is going up, everything is going up. So yes, it has been extremely challenging to keep up with all of that and all that increase in lead time and prices on products.
Yeah, I mean, we know inflation, the prices of so right now your lead times will say, well, I mean, have gone say 4 to 6 weeks to about 30 to 40 weeks. I mean, how is, I know everybody's trying to keep up because we have some principle there, some like 50 weeks, so I think everybody's fishing in the same pool of raw materials. So is that, I would say, healthy around 30 weeks now just to get the material and then produce it?
Yeah, I would say, around 30 weeks is where we're seeing things stretch out to as well. Yeah. It's crazy.
Is it mostly from the international suppliers that you're having the toughest things on importing material, or is it just domestic as well?
We've got some domestic as well that are really challenged, and I think a lot of what they're facing is some of the challenges we're facing is really just employment, finding people to come in and actually perform the processes and things like that. I mean, I think everything, this COVID pandemic has really got a lot of people stuck at home and really not wanting to leave their homes, and that's been a real challenge to keep up with stuff, and I think that's their issues as well.
So their manpower, you hit that on that. So manpower. So is expanding capacity and manpower. Did ASC lose anybody during that pandemic that never came back to, or you guys always been stable with the headcount?
We remained fairly stable. We did lose a few people. Just, I think, like everybody else, that they wanted to care for their kids, or they wanted to stay home. They wanted to really focus on other things. And I think a lot of people stayed home for a little while, either in quarantine or whatever, and kind of felt like maybe this is the way I want to go, instead of coming back to work. It's kind of nice. So I think we did lose a few people as a result of that. Overall, we stayed pretty stable though. And now we're kind of trying to reverse that. We're trying to pull people back out of their homes and say, all right, come back out. Let's see if we can get you back to work. And I think a lot of people are reluctant to it.
So, I mean, through this, the challenge of manpower, is it that that's why I say talk to companies that have, is there any way that, get to your perspective of building your types of products? Is it more, you need more hands, or automation could come into play to also help that as well?
Yeah, automation can come into play to help that as well. There is a certain uptime and, of course, an investment when it's related to that. Right. And so, more hands is really what we need at the moment, just because we have a lot of labor intense processes. We are trying to, we have a lot of them that are streamlined and automated, but we have a lot of them that are still pretty hand reliant on hand labor. So we definitely need more people in here to kind of fill those gaps. And we've done a lot of things internally just to try and drive more people here, trying to get more engaged with the community. Since I took over as president in last July, we've really done a lot of things as far as the cultural aspect to really drive a new culture at ASC to promote servant leadership and things like that.
Well, that's every company through these times. It's I love to hear that through leadership. It's leaning in towards, in the pandemic, it could be a crisis, as people saying, in the fear of leaning into it and evolving ourselves through leadership, through technology, through process that we have in play to also bring in new talent, because succession is happening. There's a lot of, of course, yourself, a lot of great minds in engineering. Succession's in play this next 5 to 10 years. A lot of succession is happening with a lot of the greatest minds of engineering, and there's a new generation coming. But it's always good to bring the new generation while that old generation to spread that wisdom, because there's a lot of knowledge there. And I think that talent, our talent pool, is getting a little not dry, but doesn't have all the information and it needs to be passed down. And that's what I see in a lot of industries, even in our industry, through distribution, design, engineering side. It's a lot of the talent and wisdom is not being shared, and it's just succeeding. And then new people coming in, starting something new, but realizing, wait, there's a lot of knowledge that we're missing, right? A lot of things doesn't happen. Computers can't do engineering for you. It's always having that vision and a creation within it. Because today, I could bring on, as I say, is Elon Musk. I mean, I'm a big fan of Elon. It's just, for me, it's how he thinks. And his biggest challenge, as he says, for a lot of companies, and even himself, is like engineering is actually easy today. It's not as difficult as it used to be because of compute. Manufacturing is hard. Scaling for manufacturing is hard. That's how it's transitioned to, like, we used to have the engineering was a difficult part, but manufacturing we could produce, but it's kind of switched. And when you think about it, you put it into perspective, it really kind of makes sense because compute can really, you can model stuff out into algorithms and compute power to show you all the different solutions. It can run through simulations very fast now, very fast. But through, then if you want to scale it for production, you realize, oh, wow, this is going to be challenging to make what we just went, and this is going to work. How are we going to scale this and produce a line to build this, right? So do you share that a little bit similarity? Can you agree with that, or what do you think? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, actually, one of the things when you mention automation, you kind of hit the nail on the head, because it's like automation, it's like, okay, well, it's easy to theorize automation and easy to say, okay, well, if we just throw this into this line, this would work great. But in practice, it's a lot more difficult. Of course, you got the upfront investment. Then you have the real world that gets in the way of that. That says, oh, wait, I need to actually plan all this manufacturing steps in before it gets to that place. So then I can implement automation and get it to take off. So yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of systems and a lot of applications out there to help engineers do the best job that they possibly can, get that very accurate estimate and of what exactly it's going to take. But it's a whole nother ballgame when you go to the real world and try and actually apply that and do that. The real world gets in the way, and it's relentless.
Yeah, there you go. As I said, I love to hear that because it's real practical. It's real practical. And when I tell that to some people, they don't get it, but I think yourself, you're in the full man, you're in it. That we come up with some great simulations, some great data that it's calculated through compute. We have the engineer like, wow, this is going to really, but then we're like, let's put this to a real world application. Like, oh, how are we going to get there? And that's where everything gets held. And that causes advancement in technology to slow down a little bit because the engineering is there, but the processes haven't been solidified and proven as it hasn't been proven, if it's going to work. By theory it does, but by actual proven through production, because it takes, I guess, cost, manpower, mindset, process. There's a lot of ways to be able to get, to solve the hypothesis that you're going through. So these are all, that's why that's good to hear, because as I said, these are the types of challenges that we're all facing through supply. And I think right now through the global supply chain, the digitalization, the reluctance, as we're manufacturing. Myself, I have a supply manufacturers and through process, but a lot of the tier 1 guys are very digitalized, but the tier 2, tier 3, digitalization is not there yet. They're very traditional in the structure that they use. They use older systems. They don't communicate all with each other. The manufacturing process is still the old process, either but partially automated, partially by hand. And it's how do we optimize digitalization and connect these systems to automate to each other to eliminate error, to reduce error, because error is waste, right? You want to be, people say efficiency, but efficiency, you can only get more efficiency by reducing error. Right?
Yeah,
error, and that from yourself, that you're leading a team manufacturing. Like, where can we reduce the amount of error that can happen within this production line? This process, right? That will improve efficiencies. How can we measure it and collect that data to make calculated decisions if what we're doing is working or not? The output could increase, but is the efficiency increasing because of the output?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And then you throw on top of that the human factor as well. You have people that have been working on this process for a long time, and to make an improvement, it's very challenging. It's hard for, we're creatures of habit. I've done it this way, so this is the way it's got to be. I've done it for years. And it's really hard to get people, even once you've done all the numbers and you put everything together, to really get people to buy in, to say, yes, this is the best way to go through this. So it's another, I'm not saying stumbling block, but a challenge, to try and get things implemented as timely as possible, because you just have that resistance to any change, anything that's going to change the way they do stuff. So.
You nailed it. The creature, you nailed it. That's exactly what it is. And the simplification form is change management, changing the process, because humans are, we like to go the same way to work every day, even though those might be a faster way now. These are the things that, because it's through muscle memory, right? Mm-hmm. Muscle memory. If we have brain, that's what it is. Brain memory. It's just the memories, muscle memory through it just comes, and it's the same way. And you just don't know different. And it's the fear of the unknown. And that's the basic thing as a leader in yourself, is trying to say, we want to promote growth and change processes and play. We want to implement digitalization, implement this. And we're like, well, I like writing in my book. I don't want to put it in the system. I don't want to put it in there. And I like writing it. I organize. I'm very efficient my way. But actually, if we take the time and exercise the unknown, and it's comfort that makes discomfort makes everybody have the fear. Yeah. It's how we overcome that as leaders in an industry or in things. Right now, we're in a digital revolution. As I said, for the 2020, this decade is a digital technology revolution.
Yeah.
You see it. I know you're in it. You see what's happening every day. We look at us now. We used to see each other in person.
Yeah.
Now we're a digital process, because of course travel is not as frequent and it's not as safe as you would say. A lot of protocols are in play, especially international travel and things like that. But yeah, these are a lot of things that change. It's changing that leadership and changing that process and mind, and thinking alike, and also helping people through the process of, we're not going to remove your job. We're just going to make it more efficient so you can be more productive. For the capacity side, right now, some of these efficiencies that you're putting in to operate, to have more output, is it improving your capacity, or what capacity levels you're running out today?
Yes, I mean, it is improving our capacity. It's segmented by lines, individual production lines, but we're making some great strides to really improve that. On one production line, the manufacturing engineers are talking about, 140% gains on the line to really improve capacity, which is just huge. Yeah. So really just, we're trying to take, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Yeah. So really just trying to segment it out and take each step and see what we can do to really drive those efficiencies and capacity improvements.
Yeah. And how is that with I know the supply raw materials, the lead times are going. Are you guys now kind of doubling your orders or getting more material so you can bridge that gap of lead time?
Yeah, we've actually, we started hedging pretty early in the year because we started to see kind of a rapid influx. I think it was at the end of 2020, we started to see orders start to trickle up. And so we had a feeling that things were going to really start to take off. And so we've been buying ahead. Basically, as soon as we have an order, we'll place an order for the material, even if it's got to sit on the shelf for a little bit. We just want to secure that material and have it ready and available. Does inflate in inventory costs a little bit, but it's a risk worth having at the moment.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of manufacturers right now, and a lot of people are like, oh wow, it's not about the bottom line, because of course inventory liability on the shelf is a lot. Yeah. And that brings me to that aspect of the supply chain, and because it's been so lean, we always want to run lean because we don't hold inventory. Inventory and balance, the balance sheet doesn't look good, especially for public companies. Private companies, you can get away with more inventory, especially if you're producing something, but everything was just in time. Just like you said, order comes in, we order the materials. Yeah. It's sometimes that's why it's that methodology, I think, from the 20 years ago when the .com, we had that crash and .com boom crash in 2001. And then we had 2008 recession. And now coming to the it just created more efficiency through having lean supply and, really leaning heavy on distribution or having on the manufacturer to hold the inventory, because even the end product, the end user didn't want to hold the inventory. They're like, I want it here when I'm producing. My MRP should be production. We might have 1 month inventory only, and that's it. And everything will be held. And so everybody ran so lean, which kind of broke the supply chain. What is your perspective on that? I mean, do you agree upon that? Do you think that lean kind of is kind of obsolete now? We have to think about a new methodology for inventory management in this next decade?
Well, I don't know in the next decade, but definitely in the next couple of years, we kind of have to, we tried to run as lean as possible, make sure we're only getting product in, when we need it. But with this next couple of years, I mean, it's all kind of got to go out the window because so much of it now is not, it's not really what's your price. It's when can you get me this? I need this now. So the better we can have materials on the shelf and be able to react to our customers' needs when they need it, is an advantage, from that standpoint. So we, are kind of pushing that stuff by the wayside, saying, okay, we're not as lean, we're getting a little fat on our inventory, but we want to be able to react to these situations for our customers when they come. We do also have to watch that on the back end, like you said, that if this bubble does start to burst or if things start to slow down, we really got to be ahead of it, make sure that we're trimming back ahead of time, so we're not stuck with a lot of stuff on the shelf. So there is a risk to it.
With your customer base and your ears to the ground of what you've been hearing with your customer, first of all, how are your bookings? Do you have bookings out like a year? How are your bookings right now?
Yeah, bookings are out over a little over a year right now. I mean, they're stretching out significantly.
Okay.
Lead times are stretching out significantly, and it just doesn't seem like anybody's slowing down. Everybody is just continuing to place orders and doing everything they can to get product as soon as possible. And like we talked about before, some of the infrastructure, things that we think that are leading to a lot of this, they just want their product. They have this contract, they're going to build this, so they need their product in this amount of time so they can respond to it. And I think it's even borderlining on some of these kind of more reactionary, like scared orders. People are just placing them to make sure they got product in the pipeline. And so that's the other thing we got to watch out for too, is make sure that,
the speculation side.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure we're not over investing on the speculation and then everything gets pulled back really quickly.
Yeah. I mean, how is your, of course we all have competitors, but how is the Asian influence? I mean, you guys are, Asian backed company, but overall, like with China, because China, of course, has some very advanced technology, and they're keeping up. So how is that? Has that come into play with that? Have you seen more people coming into your realm and trying to be competitors because of cost? It's all about cost at the end of the day, because everybody wants to reduce cost.
Yeah.
So how is that working for you guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons for the competition, is one of the biggest reasons why we've trended more towards larger industrial style capacitors instead of the smaller, board level type product. Because China is very competitive. They're able to offer things, that they have advanced technology, very inexpensive labor, so they're able to offer parts that a fraction of the price that we can. So it heavily influences everything we do right now. With just this hand to mouth, trying to get all these products, it's not as much of a factor for a lot of customers. But on the backside of this, it definitely will be. Once these orders start to get filled and now we start looking at more price consciousness and things like that, it will start to trend towards some of the overseas suppliers and things like that.
Yeah, because that's the thing, it's the quick turn, because China also can somehow, they're very fast from design and engineering. They can really produce fast, and that they really reduce the speed and pushed actually the whole world to speed up. Like we're going to have a design concept, and also we're going to in 1 to 2 weeks, everything will be like, wow, how did that happen? But the technology is there, and that kind of, it's not as a competition. It pushes everybody pushes everybody forward. It pushes everybody forward. Like, hey, we can't run at this old speed. We need to improve the customer experience, the design, the fast turn, because today technology is advancing so fast. If it takes us 6 months to 1 year to design and to start producing, we're going to be behind because there's new things evolving. But of course, the industry you're in is very legacy based. There's more long projects. It's not just like, oh, we're going to change this. But that comes to the point is do you see that competition for the larger, for the customized, you see some competitors from China coming in trying to take that higher mix, lower volume business, or trying to provide solutions like that you guys do?
We still see it quite a bit. I mean, they're still coming in. They're trying to, they'll try and get, it's a competition with everybody. Right? So you try and get what you can whenever you can get it. And like you said, they've become very good at basically these quick turns, even engineering solutions, designing something new for somebody and getting it, turned out relatively quickly. So, the biggest offset for, you got to have volumes to some degree to offset some of that. So we deal in a little bit more of the lower volumes, and really, focus on the customer experience, engineering aspect, and really trying to drive, the quality and things like that the customers need. So it's definitely a challenge, and we got to try and stay ahead of the curve with innovation and try and do new things and make it more user friendly for the customers to use our product.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's customer experience and giving that support, local support on hand, and these are types of things that come into play. I think what we met about 8 years ago or 9 years ago in China, and that was still a lot of things have advanced. We knew, we were on the ground traveling China, and you see, 8 years passed, they just got, they're getting more advanced, and it's a good thing that competition pushes everybody, just like, again, I bring on the Tesla has pushed everybody to go to EV, everybody to push the technology is there. There's a lot of politics involved in a lot of things. So that's the problem. That's the outside factor forces that are there. But no matter what, it's competition pushes us. We have to get better, just like sports. This team is like winning every champ. They're doing something different. We have to change our methodology, our process to improve ourselves, to have better, athletes, or practice more, or have better discipline. At the end of the day, it's about discipline, right? And accountability.
Yep, absolutely. The only constant is change, right? So we've got to get used to it, and the better job we can do at adapting to these and changing along the fly, the more efficient we can become at it, the better that's going to be in the long run for our customers and everybody else.
Yeah. What is, coming down to this is, what is your future outlook, for ASC? What do you see? What are your milestones the next few years? For it, are you from the growth side, from technology stand, or the industry side? Really, what are the types of things, milestones you set for the company?
We again, with the focus being on these larger industrial capacitors, we really want to expand that side of things. We really want to focus on these larger industrial type caps, the harmonic filters, industrial chiller systems, welding applications, and things like that. We really want to, again, enhance our customers' experience as well. As you kind of said earlier on, capacitor technologies is kind of an older technology. It is what it is, but we are trying to enhance our packaging, our assemblies to allow them to handle more current or be more user friendly. So we really want to focus on driving that innovation for our company and for our customers as well. We only really see this industry taking off. As you said, a lot of these infrastructure bills and everything, we see a lot of that industrial infrastructure type spending going out. And so we've got to be ahead of that curve and ready to take part in that as well.
Good. Yeah, I agree. It is, we have to look out, on these things that are happening. We have to keep our heads to the ground. We have to keep personal growth, look at the news, what's happened in the marketplace as leaders, especially as leader yourself. You have to see what's for the future and really, where are we going? Where is being spent? What industries are secting in? And also build that message within the company culture itself. Like, hey, this is the areas that we want to go. This is the direction. These are the especially the salespeople. The salespeople also have to go for those industries, and it's about, because today we can't visit as many people because of the challenges we're in, the digitalization. But branding is key. Branding is big now. Building a brand that people see ASC, they can recognize ASC builds, specialized high-end capacitors customized for certain solutions for industrial applications. So they know that brand. They know, okay, you know what? I have this, but I'm going to use ASC, and that to build that branding. At the end of the day is really, I know, because you guys your website has really improved over the time and really has changed. So I can see you guys have set some of those initiatives moving forward already for the branding for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting more heavily involved. We have a new director of marketing and sales with us. And so he's really driving like LinkedIn as well, to really drive that brand recognition and get our name out there. So, right now we're, in the sustaining business mode right now, trying to keep our existing customers happy, but we know, we got to start turning that over to additional sales growth and soon. So we want to build that recognition, that brand recognition. So when we do go into that mode, people are like, oh yeah, I remember ASC capacitors and things like that.
No, yeah, exactly. And that's the brand that comes to be. And people really realize when we're locked down, we can't go out and go door to door. We have to change the ways we pivot and brand and touch people, right? The touch points have changed. And I don't think we're ever going to go, but there's to be a more, the future is going to be hybrid, a lot more hybrid. You never replace in person, especially in engineering aspect. But now with technology, you can pass forward the compute power, the speed, everything could be done over, over technology, but also the in person to see the application. What's it working on? How does it operate? To get that as an engineer, it really gives you more perspective of the solution you need to provide. So there's a plus and minus to it, but overall, we all need to pivot. We need to move and invest in those branding, invest in the technology, implement those, because that is the future. At the end of the day, it's the future, and that data that we can get back to really see, are we doing the right thing, and how do we change that formula to really to be able to improve the output and overall the growth of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I agree.
So of course, as a younger leader yourself, leading a big corporation, what is your words of wisdom for future leaders, for people that see, hey, wow, you came from just starting at a company out of college, and now you're the president, CEO of this big, international company. What is words of wisdom, and how, what do you say for the new talent coming up these days?
Well, unfortunately, I guess there's not any magic formula for doing anything, and that's what I think a lot of young people coming out of school just want this instant gratification, that they're going to, but unfortunately it takes hard work and perseverance, and in the leadership role, it's a never ending job. I mean, you always strive to be a great leader. You never reach that, so you always strive for the apex of it. And, I really lean towards servant leadership. That's just kind of my mentality, is really trying to, and that's a culture we're trying to build here at ASC, really empowering people to be able to make their own decisions and really drive, the company forward and take ownership in it. If you don't take ownership in something, you don't have stock, you don't have anything in the game, so get people to take ownership and really, drive improvements on their own.
Yeah, no, I love it. Thank you. That's exactly, as I said, the words of the wisdom that you've built, the things for the new generation. It is. We all have to put the hard work, discipline, put our heads down, and get on as a discomfort. You have to live in discomfort, and that's where the biggest growth is. We're all going to fail. Don't afraid to fail, because failure just leads to bigger growth.
Absolutely.
You learn, without failure, there's no growth. And that's, I always said to everybody, it's we always get unmotivated when something is wrong, but look at what you did right and don't focus on the things you did wrong.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, fail is just your first attempt in learning. It's like, you just got to go through that. You got to learn. And that's, I think, the biggest thing for a lot of leaders too, is, you can't get down on people for failing. I mean, you have to give them the freedom to fail. Yeah, you try and, hold the reins a little bit so the failure isn't so catastrophic, but let these people learn, let them make mistakes. And that's the best way to get the juices flowing and get really innovative and move things forward.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's been excellent to have you on. A little bit about ASC, really what's happened in the process of your guys' business, capacitance business. It's exciting what's going on in the industry. And being, as I said, relating more about, we're all facing similar challenges of growth, of change, of supply chain disruptions. So we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We're all growing together. And I can't wait to work with you guys more closely. And as we can build success, a collaboration, partnership for the future.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you having me. This has been a lot of fun. It's something I haven't done a lot before, so this is awesome. And yes, I can't wait to work more with IBS and appreciate everything you guys have done with us in the past and continue that relationship on in the future. So thank you.
Well, very good. Well, thank you all. Thank you for this, and we'll talk to you soon.